It's Beth again with the WISPA Educational Council. Today we are talking about drumming for tenors. Now this particular video is going to be very basic. If you have familiarity with music and you can read it, even if you're not good at it, I recommend skipping to the next video. For those of you that are sticking around, you need to get yourself a metronome, whether it is a portable guy like this one or an app on your cell phone. It needs to show the tempo in beats per minute, which all of them do, but also I recommend you get one that shows subdivisions. Those look like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is introduce you to the parts of a note. All notes have a head, whether it's solid or hollow. Aside from the whole note, which I'll explain later, all notes will have a stem. Stems can point up or down from the head, but it's just the composer's preference. There's no difference in note value. Lastly, some notes, depending on their duration, will have one or more flags or beams. Flags are used when a note is standing alone, and beams are seen when connecting notes together. Next, we're going to look at the structure of a score. At the top, you will usually see a title, composer, date of composition, usually the type of tune or score, and sometimes even the band name and/or competition year. Moving down to the top left, we see the time signature. Then there's a single line that stretches all the way across the page. You're probably used to seeing music with a regular staff that looks like this. Because our drums are capable of only a single tone, we don't need a 5-line staff to depict our one note. Some larger tenor sections might choose to use the 5-line staff in order to show the different voices of the separate tenors, but most get by with just the single line. If a note is above the line, you play with the right hand, and if it's below the line, it's played with the left. Some bands might use this notation, others don't. I find it helpful. This music is 4/4 time, which is a common time signature in music. In fact, the other name for 4/4s is common time. The top number indicates the number of beats in each measure, and the bottom number tells you what kind of note makes the beat. To understand this, it helps to visualize it as a fraction. I am so sorry to bring up fractions. You may recall that 4/4 is 4 times 1/4, or 1/4. The 4 is the number of beats per measure, and the 1/4 indicates a quarter note. Quarter notes look like this. They have solid heads and a stem without a flag or a beam. And see, 4 per measure. These vertical lines here mark the borders of each measure. Other frequently seen time signatures in pipe band are the 2/4s and the 3/4s. With these, the beat is still marked by the quarter note, but there are only 2 per measure in the 2/4s and 3 per measure in the 3/4s. Contrast this with the 6/8. 6 beats per measure, but now the 8th note is what makes the beat. 8th notes look like quarter notes, but they have either a single flag if it's a note by itself, or a single beam if it's attached to another group of notes. Another traditional time signature in pipe band music is the 2/2 or cut time. I'm going to talk about this in the next video so I don't explode your brain quite yet. Now let's get to counting. Please note that a handout with this information will be available either in the comments section or on the WISPA education page. The 4/4 time signature has already told us that a quarter note makes the beat. If I were to turn on my metronome to 60 beats per minute, when the metronome beeps, that's the beat. So the quarter notes are played right on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8th notes are twice as fast as quarter notes. The first of the 8th notes fall on the beat, and the second fall exactly in the middle between beats. This second note is counted as and. Thus, this measure is counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You can set the subdivision on your metronome by choosing this. So now you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The number of beats per measure has not changed, just the number of notes we play within that space. The next subdivision is 16th notes. There are 4 of these for every quarter note and 2 for every 8th note. They are denoted by 2 flags for individual notes or 2 horizontal beams when attached to other notes. We count this as 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. If you listen to the metronome, the and of the 3rd 16th note corresponds to the position of the and of the 8th note. The beat never moves and the and never moves, but now we're adding more notes between them. You can endlessly subdivide the beat smaller and smaller, but fortunately 16th notes are usually as fast as you're going to play on the tenor drum, with the exception of a rare 32nd note. That will be discussed in the next video. I'm going to briefly mention whole notes, which look like this and last for all 4 beats, and half notes, which look like this and last for 2 beats. These notes are really for instruments on which you can hold a note for a prolonged period of time. On drums, we can't do that. So our whole note sounds like this, and our quarter note sounds like this. The only difference is the time between our note and the next note. Instead of using a whole note, tenor music will usually be written like this: 1 quarter note with 3 beats of rest. Writing it like this allows us to assign parts of our flourishes to different parts of the beat, which makes the flourish appear more clear, as we discussed in our previous video. Now we're going to have a look at this piece of music to test us out. First, we're going to count through it verbally, and then we're going to play through it. Have a look at these notations. These are called repeats. When you get to the end repeat, you are going to go back to the first repeat and then play that part again, and then move on to the following music if there is any. I'm going to set my metronome to 60, and I'm going to put on 8th note subdivisions. We're going to count it first. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and 3. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and 3, 4. Now we're going to play this on the drum. Don't worry if this is hard for you, because we're going to practice this in our next video. 1, 2, ready, go. Now we're going to turn our attention to rests. So rests are times where we're not playing, hence the name. For each type of note, whole, half, quarter, eighth, 16th, and so on, there's a corresponding rest. Check out this beauty of a chart. As you can see, whole rests and half rests are little rectangles below and above the line respectively. The quarter rest is just straight up odd looking, but you'll see it enough that you'll learn it quickly. Thankfully, 8th rest and 16th rest, plus all the smaller subdivisions, will have the same number of flags as their note counterparts. I was unable to find the actual name of the rest component that comes off of the stem. It kind of swoops down and has like a little ball on the end. So for our purposes, I'm going to continue to call them flags. We're going to play through another line of music, and this time it's going to feature rests. When you look at this line, the most complicated part is measure 4. It's that first beat. So before we turn on the metronome, let's look at that. It's going to be 1 E and a 2 and 3. 1 E and a 2 and 3. So you're going to hit on 1 E and a 2 and 3. Again, 1 E and a 2 and 3. So are you ready to play through this line? I'm going to start the metronome at 50 just because of that challenging last measure. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and a 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and a 2, and 3. Well, that's enough for this video. I am pooped and my husband is shaving his own head in our backyard. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more drumming for tenors.